Pitchside. What's it going to be this week? A win? A loss? Well, surprising pretty much everybody at BMO Field, a huge bounce-back performance from your Toronto FC in the 401 Derby, no less.
In front of a little under than 25,000 fans on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, and here's the question I have. Like, because we're Canadian, and you know, because we also grew up watching European soccer, we always said Derby, because that's how they always say it on the English broadcast. But since it's a Canadian match, do we still have to say Derby, or do we say 401 Derby?
I've been saying Derby since I was a little lad.
Little pichinero.
Derby, it says Canadian as poutine, right?
Well, we'll be talking to a little young lad in Marky Delgado in just a little bit. But first, let's wrap up this game. First half, Oyongo scores the goal, basically out of nothing.
First opportunity of the game.
What's the first thought that goes through your mind?
Here we go again.
Same here. Yeah. And I actually sent the tweet. Like, I've seen this movie before. First chance of the game, the opposing team scores on what is a counterattack. And it's shocking, but, you know, at the same time, TFC did come back. But there were, and not to start a 3-1 win off with so much negativity, but, you know, Montreal had quite a few chances in the first half, as did TFC. But they all came on the counterattack. Yep. And Josie made mention of it in his post-game, and Greg Vanney made mention of it in his post-game, that they didn't like seeing all the chances that they were giving up.
Yep, and they were very susceptible to that counterattack, particularly in the first half. With Montreal setting up in a 4-2-3-1, there was a lot of times we saw those three and that one pushing forward, and they were outnumbering Toronto on a couple of chances, and they were lucky or unfortunate not to go up 2-1 at one point in time. They didn't convert. TFC and Josie Altidore score in the second half, and all is forgiven. But it was very close to this game being a 2-1 Montreal game, and I don't think we would have saw quite the dominant second half performance had that been the scoreline.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Montreal were maybe a little bit scared going into the half, because towards the end of the first half, it was one-way traffic for the most part, aside from a couple of Montreal counterattacks. And they had TFC had, I think, 5 shots on target at the end of the first half, or 6 shots on target. No. Evan Bush had 5 saves at the end of the first half, and he finished the game with 5 saves.
Now, sorry, Dan, I got to pull out the official MLS score sheet for this one, because TFC had how many shots did you say on target in the first half?
6.
6.
1 went in.
Jovinko, of those 6, Jovinko had 7, 4 on target, finishes the game with 13 total shots, 5 on target. Only had 1 on target in the second half, and that was, of course, the penalty kick that he converted. But he hit the post, chipped it just over the net, and I mean, realistically, whenever he gets the ball anywhere near in a set piece and a free kick anywhere near that box, even for the half, he's taking that on target.
Yeah,
he's not laying that off.
And you know what? Like, he is just so unbelievably good, and you can tell. Like, you know, I went down during the second half. I went down to the Rogers Red Zone there, and Brady and Walker were treating some TFC fans to a game from Sportsnet 590 The Fan, and you know, it was funny because Andrew Walker is the least soccer person out there. And when he watches Sebastian Jovinko, he can tell he's light years ahead of everybody else on the field. And not to say that shouldn't be noticed right away as soon as you're watching a TFC game, but it's staggering how good he is. And what he did on the first goal, undressing Laurent Simon, not once, not twice, but 3 times on the same goal, he beat him. And that's the best defender in MLS.
Yes, and that's what I was just about to say, as we talked about before this taping and recording, was that he's probably the best defender in MLS, and Sebastian Jovinko made him look silly.
Yeah.
Credit Michael Bradley for the goal. Credit Josie Altidore for his stunning strike in the second half. But you just see how good Sebastian Jovinko is and how he is above the rest of the league.
Yeah, and getting back to, you know, Bradley was amazing in this game. Don't need to tell you that. You saw it. Jonathan Osorio had another strong game. Needs to work on his finishing, though.
He does.
How many goals has he missed this year? Yeah. Also, we love you, buddy. But seriously, your footwork, top-notch this year. Seriously, he is making guys look silly. But at the same time, you got to start finishing some of these chances.
By the way, producer Bozy spoke to Osorio after the game to talk about Copa America. It's really for Colombia.
Obviously he would. He's got the Colombian heritage. It's the same way we were cheering for Italy in the U21s.
I thought it was just because you like Shakira.
He's got some Colombian in him. But, Oso's looking really good this year. I think when we talk about who was the worst player for TFC, and not to pick on one guy, but, that defensive line always looks shakier when Warren Creavalle is at right back. And it's going to be the big question mark once we get to basically after Saturday when 4 players leave for the Gold Cup. And Warren Creavalle, with Mark Bloom and his continuous ongoing mystery injuries, Warren Creavalle is going to be the right back.
He is going to be the right back, and that's going to be a little bit scary and a little bit of an issue. And just imagine if Ashton Morgan didn't progress the way he has and hasn't been as stellar as he had this year, the kind of issues that this team would be facing right now at the back. But he's been stellar. Going into the Gold Cup, though, is going to leave some issues in a little bit. But I want to talk about another player who was absolutely fantastic today. It might help fill in the void with the likes of Osorio, Bradley, Morgan, Altidore gone. Marky Delgado.
He was huge today.
He was massive today.
Rarely you see a 20-year-old player, especially in this league, who just comes in and he's so calm in possession. He's got a great touch on the ball. More than once today, he stuck out to me. Greg Vanney made a point to talk about him. Bradley made a point to talk about Marco Delgado today. He was really impressive. And it's, TFC, you can knock them and talk to people all the time who say, yeah, well, they got the 3 big guys and then there's just a bunch of scrubs everywhere else. Not true. And if you say that to me, I know you're not watching most of the games. But for TFC to go out and find this guy, what did they have? They were in the teens when they picked Marco Delgado in the expansion draft.
And a lot of people were shocked that he was left so late.
And I remember management saying that they felt they got a steal with Marky Delgado. You don't want to make too many jump conclusions after one game. But this was really encouraging to see Marky Delgado play so well today. And you spoke to him.
I did speak to him. And it's easy to forget, as you alluded to, that this kid is only 20 years old when you watch him on the pitch.
Vertigo? Did he have vertigo? He just came back from New Zealand.
Came back, and we talked to him about that. And the thing is, for a 20-year-old, you can tell he's still a kid when you watch this interview, but very mature kid at that, and a guy who I think who's got a very bright future, and someone the American national team should be excited for. Marky, 25,000 people on hand today. Speak about what the crowd does for you guys and how important they were tonight.
I feel like, for me personally, I think this was like the biggest crowd I've played in front of in my career. Obviously, it was a big crowd for a Wednesday night. Imagine on the weekends, even bigger. But they always give us that extra push for the goal and for the win.
How different is it playing in Toronto compared to playing for Chivas USA? I know they had all kinds of off-field issues last year and whatnot, but what's the environment like, and compare the two?
There's a big difference, especially the crowd, the facilities, just everything in general is better here. For some reason, we didn't have everything. We had everything, but not as good as here. Coming into today, knowing that I had the start, I couldn't stop shaking. My hands couldn't stop shaking, but I got out there and I performed well, and I gave him my all, and I feel like the crowds enjoyed.
How important was it for you to have a good game today, getting the start, knowing that a lot of guys are off to the Gold Cup next week and coming back from that World Cup?
Knowing a lot of guys are going to be out for the Gold Cup, I felt like today is a good experience for me, knowing they're going to be out and I can be in their position, the next few games when they're gone, and I need to be ready for that. And now I got the experience out on the field in front of the big crowd, and I feel like I'm ready for that.
How are you going to go celebrate a midweek victory?
Yeah, Mark, you can drink up here, bro. From Chivas USA.
It's just a Wednesday night. We got another game Saturday, so I got to stay focused and just recover in my body.
Is Focus your middle name? Is it? No. That sounds like it, though.
Nah.
Focus New Zealand. Talk quickly about IMG Academy.
IMG?
How big was that for you? Going down there.
That's throwback.
That is throwback.
That is throwback. But I think it was a good experience with the U17s residency. We play soccer every day, go to school every day. Obviously, that's important to have as well. But playing soccer every day and having the coaches that were there helped a lot. They always drive you to get better. They just want you to get better and grow and as a player and as a person. So I felt like that was a real big step forward in my career.
And then most importantly, Toronto girls or Cali girls? Which ones are you looking at right now? More preferably so.
No, I'm taking. I have a girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking.
That's on the record. I just want to make that on the record, Marky. Taking. All right, thanks.
And that IMG Academy out of Bradenton, Florida, the USA residency program, is responsible not only for the future in Marky Delgado, but also the present. Michael Bradley, Josie Altador. Seems to be working for him.
When are we going to get one in Canada? Well, we do got Oso and Morgan on this team, so we got a lot to be proud of. And Marky, look, if he keeps it up, he's going to be huge in this month of July.
And Kyle Laren scored again tonight, by the way, absolutely lighting it up.
Feeling the love for Canadian men's national team players right now.
Gold Cup, Canada, Costa Rica, I believe it's July 16th. Be here.
The good news.
Be here, people. 14th. Be here then.
The good news for TFC, though, they kept Maxime Tissot pretty quiet tonight. He's not more than a watch, apparently.
And they kept Marco Donadel quiet.
Yeah. And, he, wasn't... I thought he was going to get a red card before the game.
And that's what I want to ask you quickly, is that, are you surprised, and somebody asked Greg this in the post-game press conference, but are you surprised Montreal didn't come and deploy a very similar strategy to New York City after it was so successful on the weekend? Coming in here and playing that physical, not allowing them space, and being all over Joe Winkle's case.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but at the same time, Montreal's game is to play the way they did today. And as we talked about off the top of the show, there was instances where they had some really good chances to score when this game was 1-1, and they could have taken a 2-1 lead. They want to play on the counterattack. They want to get out there with their speed. Dom Maduro had a great chance towards the end of the game, just down the left touchline there. I had a front row seat for it in the Rogers red zone. It was, they got some really fast players they wanted, and they had their opportunities, and they caught TFC out more than a few times. I just thank the Lord. I don't want to say that, but at the same time, I'm just happy we got to see proper soccer football played here at BMO tonight, because Saturday it was an atrocity and it took the game back 20 years.
And it was a very entertaining match today, that needs to be said. But we don't have much time to reflect and celebrate this win, because they've got an absolutely huge game against DC United, who were victorious tonight, by the way. Eastern Conference leaders, you beat them in their home, and now you got to deliver at your home. How important is this game going to be for this club?
I think it's just huge because of the fact that the Gold Cup is so close. Right after. And TFC 4 points ahead of a playoff spot as we speak. They've got like 5 games in hand on DC United, who's first in the conference, but you don't count those games in hand, as we've seen in the past with this club. But this game is huge, not so much for the fact that you're trying to catch DC for first spot in the East, more so just to get some momentum, get another 3 points, maybe get a little bit more of a cushion on a playoff spot before starting a whole month with at least, you would think, Josie and Michael gone for the whole month. Ashton and Jonathan, we hope you guys are kind of gone for the whole month, but I don't know how well Canada will do. I'm just being honest. Being honest.
And I'm glad you said add some cushion to that playoff spot, because they look like they're in a comfortable spot right now. But had they lost this game, which was a very realistic possibility when they're down 1-0, they would have been in 6th spot. They would have been 3 points. A point behind Montreal with a game in hand. Montreal would have had a game in hand. They would have been a point behind them. And then you're behind the likes of Orlando. New England moves further up. DC with the win moves further up. Columbus coming up. There are a lot of teams in New York City FC now on fire. So there's a lot of teams in the East that can compete for that playoff spot. And it's very quick to lose ground, as we saw last year, because everybody was talking about TFC being in the playoffs last year, and they were for the majority of the season, but they let it slip away, and they need to make sure that doesn't happen again this season.
Yeah, this game was really encouraging, just the way they passed the ball around, and the way you had guys like Bradley, especially Bradley, the way he moved in between the lines tonight and really broke up Montreal. was very impressive. So
As was the crowd tonight. Sorry, I gotta
And-
mention the crowd.
the crowd is always great here.
Listen.
We mention it on every show.
But there was one point when they were chanting, "This is our house, get the beep out." Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was just hilarious to see after all the act. And I mean, full credit to Montreal fans because every time TFC goes to Stade Saputo, they let TFC have it. And even here last year with the Google image and
Yeah.
0 playoff results found, fantastic. It was good to see TFC fans give a little bit back to their rivals.
It was pretty impressive to see that. And finally, a couple of news and notes. Sebastian Giovinco with his assist tonight, 7th of the season. That's a franchise record, 14 games into the year. Insane.
8 goals, 7 assists, 15 games played.
I don't know what
14
it
games
speaks
played?
to more. The fact that Giovinco is already at 7 assists for the year, or the fact that TFC have just been so...
And that's a club record.
Yeah.
That nobody's ever gone in double digits before.
It's
We're
sad.
at 8.
And the other thing, Damien Perquis getting a fine for his outburst and his tirade on Saturday against NYC.
Also, Sheru not playing today, and TFC still got a result, so that's big there going forward as well.
Huge. A lot of good. Still some worrying facts about the defense as a whole and how they defend counterattacks. We'll see how it works out on Saturday against DC United.
Enjoy the victory. Peace.